morning in beautiful Maastricht. My name is Tom van Veen. I am acting pro-rector of this university, and hereby I open this academic ceremony in which Valerio Stallone will defend the academic thesis Blockchain Reactions, the marketing track of knowledge, from knowledge to decision. May I invite you, Valerio, to present a summary of your study and the conclusions of your thesis in 15 minutes?
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Dear Pro-Rector, dear members of the Opposition Committee, dear friends online, dear family in here and audience in here, thank you very much for being here. It is my honor to present to you the results of my doctoral research, and in the next few minutes you will see from me, and I will guide you through the evolution of blockchain technology in digital marketing, our experimental approaches and the practical applications that could revolutionize the industry. So it all started for me back in November 2017. Seeing this article of Forbes, which mentioned that blockchain technology could revolutionize digital marketing and digital advertising. It created this certain sparkle for myself. And I decided that I wanted to look at it more deeply. And I recognized that the article mentioned that it would improve the trust in the ecosystem of marketing and digital advertising. It would create stronger connections. It would improve the targeting, and it would improve transparency. So I delved deeper into this. And I wanted to know, all right, how does blockchain technology fit into all of this? Looked for definitions. Well, they are vast. Blockchain technology is a data structure. Blockchain technology can be an algorithm. Blockchain technology can be a suite of technologies, and it can be understood as an umbrella term for distributed peer-to-peer systems. Looking at the main characters as well, I recognized that there was some overlap with what the Forbes article mentioned. So I saw that a few of the main characteristics overlapped with what the article mentioned already in 2017. Looking further into this, I discovered a whole organization focusing on the applications of marketing in marketing technology, of blockchain technology. And it was an ever-growing number of companies in the field. By the way, this marketing technology landscape that you see here is inspired by Scott Brinker's Chief Marketing Technology Marketing Landscape. And just yesterday evening, the newest edition came out, the 2024 version. 2024 version with 14,000 marketing technology companies. Back in 2019, just in comparison of the number that you see up here, they were 7,000 companies in the marketing technology landscape. So 7,000 in total, 425 applying blockchain technology. So I asked myself, how do blockchain marketing companies fix issues that other marketing tech companies cannot? Looking into this, I wanted to start exploratively, looking into early adoption of marketing technology, blockchain applications, and I looked into different enlargements of this marketing technology landscape that we already saw. I wanted to get more confirmation out of new perspectives. This is why I also looked into academic publications in order to enlarge not the business, already existing business publications as well. Looking into one field that, and this is a spoiler, but not for you because you already know it, one field that I focused upon was digital advertising. Right, digital advertising, I did a systematic literature review in order to find 10 use cases, which I then let be evaluated by a set of really helpful 24 experts in a 2-round Delphi study. And even there, I took the one use case that was most important, at least to the Delphi participants, and got to the 4th study, chapter 5 of my dissertation, where I recognized how to work with the design of such value exchanges. And all of this helped me recognize and subsequently unfold research gaps along the innovation decision model of process of Rogers from knowledge to decision. So this was my track. And it all started, as I mentioned, with chapter number 2, the first study, where I enlarged the existing marketing technology landscape by adding more companies. How I did that, I was looking into initial coin offering platforms, crowdfunding platforms for blockchain and crypto projects, pretty big back in 2020. And I was able to create a full list of blockchain technology companies, around 800 companies I was able to work with. Looking into the different categories where these companies were active, I had to recognize that one field was the one overgrowing the others and the most prominent one. It was the field of advertising. I took that and moved on to the next study where I wanted to get more inputs from new perspectives instead of exclusively business perspective. I took the 800 companies from the first study, did a systematic literature review to find every publication, peer-reviewed publications that mentioned at least one of those companies, came up with around 500 peer-reviewed publications, with a text mining tool, Leximancer, I did this content analysis to find the different fields that could be interesting for the overlap of marketing and blockchain technology. And again here, no surprise, advertising was one of those in the list. So it was clear for me I wanted to move on with the focus on advertising or digital advertising. This is what I did. I wanted to find out how blockchain technology fits into acknowledged abstractions, concepts, and themes in advertising research. This was, amongst other, one of the proposed research questions out of the second study. This is exactly what I took into the third study, chapter number 4 of my dissertation, where I did a systematic literature review in order to find use cases, as I mentioned, use cases of blockchain technology in digital advertising. I've found 35 publications. Out of those 35 publications, 10 use cases. And as I mentioned, I wanted to be able to map them along already existing concepts of a theory, and this is what I did in order to map them along the organizational activity system, a way to understand digital advertising. Mapping the 10 use cases along those 3 innovation categories derived from organizational activity system, I was able to define use cases in boundary innovations, the ones connecting the advertiser to the publisher, so the money spender and the money receiver in advertising ecosystem. I defined and I found contextual innovation use cases, so those use cases that connect the advertiser and the user, meaning the ones demanding for or looking for attentions and the ones supplying attentions. And then the third category was domain innovations connecting the publishers and the users, meaning the ones supplying content and the ones demanding for content. These 10 use cases were then used, at least evaluated by, I hoped to get 490 experts to the 2-round Delphi study. I sent out 490 invitations, got 24 experts out of those who participated to both rounds of the Delphi study, and they were able to evaluate based on 3 different dimensions. First dimension, the x-axis, you see here the expected probability of realization of the use case. Y-axis, the expected impact on the industry of the very same use case. And the larger the bubble, the earlier the market penetration, market establishment would have been expected by the experts. So for me, it was clear, again, use case number 6, top right? And I've continued working with this use case called rewarding web users. I wanted to delve deeper into that, to find out what does that mean in detail. And this was the content and my endeavor for chapter number 5, the fourth study, in which I developed a way to understand rewarding web users systems. So imagine you have a user visiting a website. This user uses a blockchain-enabled web accessing client. You might call it simply a browser, but it's blockchain-based. And in a rewarding web user system, the user would get a reward for seeing advertising. A tokenized, a small piece of reward for seeing advertising. The user could then decide to tip off the publisher where the user saw the ad on. And this circling reminded me of rewarding systems with money coming in from outside of the system at all. So it reminded me of universal basic income induced systems, which I then took into consideration by looking for factors that might affect participation in universal basic income systems. I did that with a vignette experiment. I took those factors, leveled them up in different dimensions in order to find vignettes to work with and ask 1,000 respondents how they would intend to adopt the system at all. I found, for some unsurprising, for others surprising results, maybe a little insipid if you want. People preferred receiving cash rewards instead of in-kind rewards. People prefer to have a choice over predetermined in-kind rewards. And for sure, people who were more open to social influence were likely to engage more with the blockchain-enabled web accessing client. So all of this left me with the future research questions that I would want to keep on with. And this is what I would like to show you with a synthesis of my propositions and conclusions out of my dissertation. I have 5 of them listed in here. So the first one, strategic innovation and adaptation. For managers, it might mean to adapt and refine blockchain technology strategies. We saw the growing number of blockchain technology companies, even taking almost 7% out of all the blockchain, of all the marketing technology companies at all. For scholars, continue to develop theories on blockchain technologies, market and marketing impact at all. Second proposition, promoting trust and redefining advertising practices. For managers, it means continuing democratizing and enhancing transparency in advertising, going beyond already existing measures taken by big tech companies in the field. And scholars researching on the effects on advertising, trust and equity, also relating to my last study. Addressing privacy and ethical standards means for managers to enhance data governance and privacy with blockchain technology, maybe going beyond already existing technology, which is already pretty well put, like data clean rooms in order to cooperate between advertising members or stakeholders. And for scholars, study blockchain's privacy impacts and ethical dimensions, also beyond blockchain technology for sure. Exploring technological synergies means for me to invest in blockchain technology and AI integrations project, like, for example, Sam Altman's very own project with WorldCoin, where he tries to combine blockchain technology and AI. The website of WorldCoin states that in a time of increasingly powerful AI, the most reliable way to issue a global proof of personhood is through custom biometric hardware. So where do you want to save all the data that some might get for identity approval causes? And for sure, for scholars, new convergences building up, how to study them, this might be a new endeavor for scholars at all. And the last one, responding to consumer criticism, increase marketing transparency and consumer engagement beyond the actual and already existing studies, and of course analyzing consumer responses to blockchain advertising, building up on what I tried to do in my fourth study, the 5th chapter of my dissertation. And with these final, maybe also thought-provoking thoughts, I pass the word back to the prorector. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. The opposition will be opened by Professor Leming. Professor Leming was chair of the assessment committee of this thesis and is professor of marketing and service innovation at Maastricht University.
Dear candidate, first I would like to commend you with a very nice thesis, with a lot of empirical work, but also a lot of practice. You showed us the recommendations and the strategy how to tackle this blockchain technology. Blockchain technology has been around for many years already, but we see very few studies in the academic arena and also very few studies in marketing. So I have one question that was puzzling me throughout the thesis, the dissertation, and that is you also, in your presentation, you also mentioned that blockchain can be a lot. So it has different appearances and also can be adopted in different ways. And what is adoption? And it struck me that you were presenting this process of adoption and the different pathways, how to adopt the technology. How this innovation adoption is a linear pathway. So it's really, you divided it into some linear elements to in the end adoption. And I was wondering if blockchain, it can be a lot, and it's revolutionizing marketing and digital advertising, as you state. How can this be a linear process? Isn't it far more chaotic?
I'm grateful to question highly esteemed opponent because I asked that myself a lot during working on the thesis and also during the additional work with interviewing the directly interested in the field. I have to say that one way that I discovered for the work that I did on the thesis was to somehow try to abstract this way of understanding the adoption at all. So the linearity that you mentioned is more of a simplification to understand how this develops over time in order to be more maybe established than anything else. Another way to put it is also another way to understand phases, right? Phases of adoption at all. So in terms of the let's say the linearity of it all in terms of Rogers 2014, it's more of a knowledge, persuasion, decision, and then the next step, implementation and confirmation. So those 5 steps in order to decide whether an innovation might be a way to continue working with a technology at all or not. Another way to put it is how maybe the Gartner consultancy company looks at innovation adoption, right? The hype cycles, different phases of it all. So I'm absolutely with you on concerning the linearity, not showing the whole complexity of it all, of the adoption perspective, but at the same time, it was a way to simplistically show how these phases come along. Because at the end, if one might want to enlarge it, one might apply other ways to put it, like complex adaptive systems, in order to count in and factor in different elements that affect the adoption at all. So I would say yes to the linearity being maybe not reflecting reality, but at the same time the need for simplification in order to, get the first few glances of the technology at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Professor Kleijnen. Professor Kleijnen was a member of the assessment committee, and she is professor of custom experience management at the Free University of Amsterdam, and she's online.
Thank you very much. Dear candidates, I've read your thesis with great interest. No doubt, blockchain technology has already changed the daily practices of companies and marketers alike and continues to do so, as you have just shown us in your presentation. Throughout your thesis, you shed light on this topic using a variety of methods, which I really appreciate. And one of your chapters has already been published in the Journal of Interactive Marketing, which I think is a great accomplishment. Nevertheless, on a day like this, it's my role to challenge you a little bit with some questions, and I would like to hear your thoughts and reflections on this. So my question actually starts at the very beginning of your thesis, but it reflects on your thesis as a whole. Your thesis covers a lot of ground, which you have nicely summarized in your first chapter. I was intrigued by how you were going to address such a multitude of questions, and particularly which theoretical lens or lenses you would use for that. I have a personal interest in interdisciplinary research and was therefore pleasantly surprised with your explicit identification of the interdisciplinary focus. In Table 1, you define these foci as, for example, marketing and blockchain technology, or digital advertising, organizational theory, and blockchain technology. I would argue, or even strongly disagree with you, that blockchain technology is a discipline. It's a system, a technology. And in your first chapter, for example, you show how technology can be of use to marketing. Given your insights after completing now your thesis, I would ask you again how you could redefine this interdisciplinary focus for us. Where do theories of different disciplines meet in your thesis? Can you provide us with a clear example of how one discipline has strengthened another in studying blockchain technology?
Many thanks to you, highly esteemed opponents, also for the question and for the kind words. I try to address the single parts of your questions, and I'll try to unpack them first. So the first part of the question was more going towards how do I think which parts of theories can be enlarged and can be of use in order to explain the usage of blockchain technology at all in digital marketing. And I tried to do that in the third study. I absolutely see that I didn't take that much of theoretical lenses in study 1 and 2 because it was an incredibly explorative setting that I was in. So I tried to do that in the third study, where I took a step back, first of all. By taking a step back in order to identify one system that might open up the eyes of my eyes and the eyes of the viewers reading the thesis to understand, first of all right, what is a simplistic way to explain the ecosystem of advertising to someone who has maybe never done online advertising in their life, working with systems like Google Ads and Meta Ads or other big tech companies. So this interconnectivity of a system which is not a typical two-sided market, right? It's a three-sided market where all of the three stakeholders have their interest. So I try to have that system in there in order to expand the theory of organizational activity systems, but by including how blockchain technology might increase the transparency, improve the trust, create the stronger connections by its immutability, by its programmability. I tried to do that there, and that was also for me the moment where I actually created that eye-opening moment for me, because I'm pretty sure I will take that into future considerations whenever talking about digital advertising at all. And not only to blockchain technology, because that could be also applied to every new technology coming into the field at all. So this was for me a revelation more than anything else.
Can I ask one small clarification question to your answer? So where would you say that, so what is your theoretical lens then in that regard? So you explained very well your what you have learned about the blockchain technology in this context, but But specifically for this example, where would you say the theories have met for you?
Have met for me whenever looking at starting thinking of value exchanges. So the theory of value market and the actually market view of it all, more than maybe you notice I started talking about ecosystems before, and then I suddenly changed into markets. So the understanding of the market view, so the theoretical lens of a market system more than anything else. So this is what I take with me for future research.
Okay, thanks.
Next on my list is Professor Hofstetter, but I don't know whether he is online or not. If not, then we continue with Professor Van Riel. Professor Van Riel is Professor of Service Innovation and Management at the University of Hasselt on the Faculty of Business Economics.
Thank you, Chairman. Dear candidates, I also read your thesis with a lot of interest. Using blockchain technologies in marketing creates really new opportunities and challenges, and reading your thesis has taught me numerous interesting things about them. I would like to congratulate you and your supervisors with a thesis that has proven readable and interesting. However, next to these new insights, of course, the thesis has also given rise to some fundamental questions. I'm happy to be here to be able to ask you those questions. The first question I would like to ask is about the dark side. I wonder how the system, although it strives for transparency and mutual trust, could actually deal with consumer misbehaviors. There is some perverse behavior in consumers, a lot nowadays. For example, when they pretend to sell their attention while not effectively doing so. I recently read an account of someone, and he is probably not the only one, participating in paid panels for dog food, having no dog, gothic clothing, not being gothic, etc., just for the money. So I can pretend that I'm watching a commercial, but instead go to the kitchen to fetch a snack like everyone else. How would you deal with this issue, and doesn't this rather common behavior jeopardize the whole idea of digital advertising and make the implementation of blockchain technology redundant?
Thank you very much, highly esteemed opponent, for your thought-provoking question. This was something that went through my mind mostly during the fourth study, chapter number 5, as you were mentioning. Also, I assume you were alluding to study participants who get rewarded to participate in studies. Absolutely. I get that, and I see that happening for sure. As soon as seeing ads might get rewarded. I see that for sure happening. And, you know, I was asking myself the same thing up until, I think it was earlier this year. I don't know if you saw the launch of the Vision Pro glass, right? The I don't know if I can name I already did, but probably Apple Vision Pro, I name it. And, you know, those goggles have retina and iris scan in them. So those goggles might predict whether you are aroused by seeing an ad. So falsifying that encounter might be a little bit more difficult than creating a new account on this blockchain-enabled web accessing client. So I see the point where one might say, so it's easy, I get rewards, I just be there, watch a lot of ads, I'll just leave the browser open and just scroll and scroll till the end and indefinitely through my browser at all. But at the same time, we see technology companies already dealing with that. I don't assume that Apple is already applying blockchain technology there, but they're trying to solve a problem, how to measure attention. and not only measure attention, but also predict attention shortly before the attention happens. So that might be one of those small changes that might change the industry way more than anything else that we've seen before.
Can I have a short follow-up?
A short one, yes.
I think that's rather hypothetical. How would you convince consumers to be part of such a system?
Well, that's the usual question, how to convince people to pay $3,500 US for a new gadget that they see online. This is something that brands in their brand environment can take over. And this is also one of the main issues I see, whereas companies taking in their gadgets, their idea of ecosystem need, which they're building, walled gardens around their moat, or a moat around their walled gardens even. And that is something that is not taken in by the advertisers. It's taken in or brought forward by technology companies who are trying to build up a fortress around their proposals, around their selling propositions that they have. So that might be a little critic, to be honest. I see that, but being in digital advertising, having been in digital advertising for so long in the past, it's difficult for me to just see it as a market that works perfectly fine. One might say it's a market failure already existing. Others might say it's no market failure. In my opinion, it depends on the perspectives that we take. If we take the perspective, sorry, just one last word. If we take the perspective of a nation or of a government that actually is responsible for the capitalistic and company achievings, then it's no market failure. If we see it, for example, for smaller nations where other second-order effects might arise, like decreasing belief in journalistic output, we might see it as a market failure.
Okay, thank you very much. To be continued.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Professor Borghans. Professor Borghans is Professor of Labor Economics and Social Policy at Maastricht University.
Thanks. Dear candidate, I read your thesis with... It was a very interesting thesis to read. And, not... Yes. Sorry. Dear candidate, I read your thesis with a lot of interest. And I saw some very fascinating results that you have. And one that fascinated me most is the graph on page 24, figure 5, about what you call the more descriptive chapter. And it shows indeed that over time more and more firms are offering blockchain technology. But on page 24, figure 5 also shows that these firms disappear quite quickly. And so I thought, what is going on here? And so from that, I now have two questions, because at the end of your thesis, you give some recommendations for firms. So I thought for firms who consider to start with blockchain technology, should it not be a recommendation not to start? And for customers, should it also not be a warning? Because I think if you use blockchain technology, it's not something you start to do just for a year. You would like to continue doing that because it's about transparency for a longer time. So what does it imply for the customers of these firms? These are my questions.
Thank you very much, highly esteemed opponent. I have the graph and the figures just in front of me right now, and looking at these downwards climbing a graph, one might say, as you just mentioned, why should if we think still of the market, right, not only the consumer but even the advertiser, why should an advertiser work with such an intermediary if the intermediary will be gone within the next 12 months? And I think what one might say here is, as in many others let's say, the peak of, or how actually Gartner says it, peak of inflated expectations might happen, that a lot of new interest, new innovations and investments come into a place. So I absolutely get why companies or projects tend to arise during a, let's say, a time of increasing interest. And what I observed there was more of a situation where we have not a winner takes it all setting, but mostly like every time else we see ecosystem building and walled gardens building, which I mentioned before, we see a situation where a Brave browser, to name one of those applications, a Steemit application or a library application. These are all brands, right, that I mentioned in the dissertation, might arise as the one taking over the vast consumer landscape, let's say. So I see this development that you mentioned as expectable on one hand. On the other side, the difficulty on consumer side, even there, I see early adopters defining and co-producing maybe even the services of these very technology providers. So for example, even the Brave browser starting to like improve the advertising settings, less intrusive, less push notifications, for example, because the feedback of the consumers weren't as positive as one might expect. So I see it as expectable from the one hand, and on the other hand, I might even add to that at some point, the so-called plateau of productivity might be achieved only by a critical mass of consumers, of advertisers, of users. As I mentioned already with the highly esteemed opponent online concerning the market situation that we have, it's a three-sided market, so it's not only about the consumers, but it's also adding to that to the advertiser and the publisher to bring them all together. And I'm not saying it's easy at all, but this coming from a place where I assume a certain kind of market failure that is increasingly more probable to the world of advertising. This was the way of understanding the research propositions and the propositions for whoever is member of this market at all. This is why I even was maybe provocative in the way I put it in the studies.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Professor Vanoso. Professor Vanoso is Professor of Quantitative Economics at Maastricht University.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me congratulate you with your thesis. It was wonderful to read, and I was really overwhelmed by the amount of companies that actually applied blockchain technology in marketing. And to put that in perspective, 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a group of the IT faculty of Zuidhogeschool, which is University of Applied Sciences, to look for blockchain technology applications, and we could come up with only 2 or 3. That was basically it. On the side, one of these people actually mined bitcoins, and once that he had 100 of them, he bought a pizza, and that was just enough to cover the €4.50 to pay for it. But as I said, we were really a little bit helpless in finding applications. So that made me think about why is blockchain technology so successful in marketing, in particular in digital advertising. And to be more specific, why is blockchain so suitable to track or even prevent click fraud? And how does it compare to possible alternative technologies in doing so?
Well, thank you very much, highly esteemed opponent, for your throwback question to how cryptocurrency can be used to buy pizza as well. And I thought of first of all, and also for the kind words concerning the retrieval of all these companies. To be honest with you, I see the technology plenty-folded into the applications that they can have, and ad fraud detection is one of those cat and mouse games that are pretty common. Right, companies like Double Verify or others that just don't come up to my mind right now, that are present in the industry, that continue improving their ad fraud measures, and at the same time fraudulent behavior that increases and improves along the measures that taken by the companies already established in the market. The way that I saw, talking also to experts or getting the inputs of the Delphi participants in the third study concerning ad fraud, was mostly given through the change of the whole ad supply chain, so the advertising supply chain, and how data coming from, for example, advertising trackers get delivered to the dashboards of Meta and Alphabet and whatnot, probably more other smaller companies than the big tech companies. So it was more of a thought of not an additional company that would serve for ad fraud verification, but mostly as one that would subsequently and consistently check for the ad supply chain at all. I can make you an example where some companies might receive as advertisers, right? They might receive in their dashboard the information that they created 1,000 impressions with their latest advertising, right? So one might look into the publisher website and see, all right, what does the tool say to the publisher? And then we see 500 impressions, for example. So there's a discrepancy over there. How one can think of reasons to happen for that? It may be ad stacking. So the fraudulent tool that actually delivers the advertising stacks ads on top of each other virtually. So you count impressions multiple times, but you just pay once instead of 5 times. So one way to understand how blockchain technology could help there is in order to check for both the supply of the ad spot, so where to put the ad, and at the same time the check for the demand, no, the supply actually of the ad itself. So only those ads where the cryptographic hash combines between the ad spot and the ad that has been shown, those one would count. That could be one way to understand that, and could be applied there. So it's not a technology that, or a set of technologies, a suite of technologies that would replace entirely the way that advertising fraud is being fought right now, but it would improve at least the advantage that one might create in this cat and mouse game that is happening day in, day out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Professor Rosmayer. Professor Rosmayer is Professor of Purchasing and Supply Chain Management at Maastricht University.
Thank you very much, dear candidate. First of all, congratulations with finishing your PhD. My compliments for your rich thesis. It's focused on an attractive and relevant topic and provides, I think, creative and new perspectives on analyzing the impact of blockchain technology in digital marketing and advertising. To paraphrase your own words, on page 151, your thesis is like a mirror reflecting the current landscape in blockchain technology and also as a window into what lies ahead. I thought that was quite a nice summary of your thesis. If you go to page 112, you state, we expect scholars to challenge our findings. So let's go. After reading your thesis, my main concerns are related to chapter 3, which triggered most questions for me. Let's discuss two of them, right? To start simple, I have difficulties to fully understand how you ended up with 502 peer-reviewed journal articles on blockchain technology in marketing, as you described that. It's a big contrast with table 3, where you present only 14 articles on blockchain technology in marketing. The way in which you describe the nature of these 502 sources on page 49 is rather briefly and triggers questions, at least for me. So could you please provide more details on these 502 and give some more background of these publications? Which journals, from what academic disciplines? Did you select an article if it only mentions blockchain technology in marketing, or should they discuss it or even do research? That would be appreciated if you could clarify that for me. And the second part is related to the research question 3 in that same chapter, which is stated as, what are the usage contexts perceived as mostly viable by practitioners and academics? That's, I hope you recognize that one. In the end of the chapter, you state that you answered this research question by translating 9 functional concepts into specific research propositions. If I read your research question literally, I dare to disagree a bit. Can you critically reflect on to what extent you answered this research question, and while doing that, clarify how you measured these perceptions of practitioners and academics, and how you determined which usage context they perceived as mostly viable? How did you operationalize that scale via the viability scale? Because that's not clear to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, highly esteemed opponent, for your 2 questions. I will start with the first one. It was concerning the 502 sources that I've used, or I took into the text mining with Leximensor. So the 502 sources that I've used there were peer-reviewed English publications, which mentioned in their full body of the publication itself at least one company that I've looked up or found in the first study. So for sure, if one might want to go through all of them, all of the 800 companies, one might find companies with the name Zinc and Browse with a Z, right? So those might be companies that might be a little bit confusing. It might be ones that might also mean something else. So I had to enlarge my my research keywords, let's say, instead of just using the name of the company or the project. I augmented it by the terminologies around blockchain. So blockchain, blockchain technology. I also used crypto in order to have that, 2020, I did the research. So those were the words mentioned at all. So those 502 are not publications that relate entirely to blockchain technology, but they mention the company. So I wanted to get a glimpse of in which context do also non-blockchain technology induced researchers and researchers contextualize the applications that I've found earlier, in order to get a glimpse of, all right, which concrete application fields do they see? What I then did, and was the second part of the first question, if I don't get it, if I get it correctly, which publication types they were, which fields they were, and from which journals, if I remember correctly. I did not.
You don't have to answer all these questions. These were just examples of,
okay.
you know,
Sorry, yeah.
the background. And maybe the short question would be, do you agree that it would have been maybe interesting or even a missed opportunity to have a little bit more of that analysis written down in the chapter as well? Because now it left me guessing about the nature of these journals.
You're absolutely right.
So maybe you can make bridge to the second part, given the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm very curious about that part as well, about the research question.
Absolutely. So trying to do the bridge to the second questions where, if I remember correctly, was around the operationalizing of the perceiving, right, of the perception of the views of businesses and academia, so managers and scholars. This was the question, and I did that by taking into consideration let's say the views of business descriptions of the companies and the full body abstract description and the context of the wordings, or better said, the companies at all. What one could do in further research there, and one might be able to do in order to get another direction for a hypothetical study 3 coming out of study 2 instead, would be to do more interviews with people from these different categories in order to get their perception of these companies. Also maybe including a more, let's say, systematic retrieval of opinions on the companies in detail.
It was mainly on the viability that I was interested, the perception. So how did you judge, like, they were viable, mostly viable, or not viable, these perceptions?
I did not do the scaling that you just mentioned at all. So this would have been something that I would have been able to do in that second study by exactly doing those categorizations, by, for example, including the data that I somehow already mentioned in study 1, that was just mentioned shortly before about the existence of the company still, and the let's say activity of the company at all in that moment. That would have helped.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Dr. Mennin. Dr. Mennin is assistant professor in the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain Management of Maastricht University.
Thank you very much. Dear candidate, let me first join my colleagues in congratulating you and your supervisory team on this very interesting piece of work. I think your thesis offers a very nice mix of methodological approaches on a very timely topic. And when reading your dissertation, I could almost feel your personal and professional passion for this topic radiate through the pages. When reading it, I also took a look at your CV, and I was intrigued to see that you have a very strong connection to industry, having held a couple of industry jobs before moving to academia. And after learning about this background, I got highly interested in the societal impact that you generated with your work. And although you formulate a couple of concrete managerial implications resulting from your research, I was hoping to find a bit of a more concrete reflection on how you, during your work on your dissertation, actually made a positive impact on society. So let us dive a little bit into that now, and I have 2 questions related to this. The first one requires you to look back and is as follows. So besides offering these managerial implications to whomever may read your dissertation, I was wondering, and I wanted to invite you to reflect on whether and how you managed to create an actual positive impact with your work during the course of your PhD. So how did you influence our society with your work? And the second one allows you to look forward, now that you have completed your dissertation. In that dissertation, you refer to many different stakeholders. I read about advertisers, publishers, users, policymakers, etc. If you could positively influence one very specific type of stakeholder, and that can be a policymaker, a politician, a small to medium-sized enterprise owner, or maybe a chief marketing officer at a large organization, which one would it be to create the largest positive impact? And what would be the very concrete, actionable advice that you would provide to this stakeholder based on your research?
Thank you very much, esteemed opponent, for your very kind words. And I saw that we connected already on LinkedIn, so this is, I assume, the way that it happened. See, looking back was the first question, positive impact. I tried to include everything that I got to know, maybe not that much about the blockchain technology itself, but learning more and more about the market failures and the everyday, almost Faustian decisions that we have to do in our lives concerning maybe even the privacy personalization paradox in marketing and in advertising. I try to include that into my daily lectures that I do with students, even in continuous education, whereas I might do a little bit of a bridge to the second questions, that is future, but I'll leave it there, I'll park it, and I'll take it afterwards. During the last 5 years, I included all of that knowledge into the lectures already. I had the incredible chance, although not that successful at the end, to be a co-editor for Frontiers in Blockchain Journal for a special issue there. We had to find out that we didn't get that many submissions to that very specific overlap. That was on one hand, that was really sad. I was really sad about it because I believe that much into that topic. So that was one part of it. On the other hand, I was even asked for that. So some kind of impact has already been done. And for society in general, this I would like to answer that to the forward-looking questions, the second part, where before identifying with whom I would talk, I would say that I see the importance of this market situation as the one that is mostly intriguing and should be mostly intriguing, not only for advertisers, marketers, but also for policymakers as well, because it changes the perception of our everyday life. It's decided by big tech companies how we perceive the world, and they monetize their work mostly by advertising. They are publicly quoted, publicly listed companies, so one can see what is the income of big tech companies from advertising markets at all. The thing is, and this is the answer to whom I would talk to, there's one stakeholder that could change everything. This is not that much the consumer, it's more the advertiser, in my opinion, because they're putting the money where their mouth is. They are actually putting the money into the system. The reason why this is something that a system is even there is because there is money flowing into these walled gardens. So what I would do, and one measure that I would take into consideration more and more in my future work, not only research, but also continuous education and education, will be educate future advertisers how to decide where to put their money and how to create a system that doesn't bite them in the very end of their career, because this is where we're at after the decisions that we took 25 years ago, in my opinion. So you see, I'm pretty critical about this, but again, the experience from the industry somehow led me to those thoughts. Thank you.
So now I must say you may finish your sentence, but I think you have already finished. So, Valerio Stallone, the time appointed for defending your thesis has passed. The degree committee will now withdraw to discuss the quality of your thesis and your defense. I request that you and your company await the results of our deliberations and our return in this room.
The PhD defense has now ended. The degree committee will debate the candidate's performance behind closed doors. This process usually takes about 10 minutes.
Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side. No place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Your mind, years can't fly by now. Don't waste all your time, 'cause I'll go the extra mile. Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side. No place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the dash, got my laces tied. Long road, I don't waste no time. Break rules because fate decides. With the team and we chase the light. I make a move, fall down, shake it off. I hate to lose, bad branch, break it off. No room for negativity, praise and love. Prepare for deep part, cause we're taking off. Get the mileage, traveling so far from home. Gathering knowledge, other connections. I put the time in to get everything I ever hoped for. It's a challenge and we all in. It's a better future that we go for. Even though these nights seem long, I know that I am never on my own. Know you won the battle once you grow. South side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side. No place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side. No place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. 'Cause I'll go the extra mile.
Valerio Stallone, the degree committee here present has assessed the quality of your thesis and your defense. In view of its positive verdict and taking into account your previous qualifications, the degree committee has decided to grant you the degree of doctor. Professor Wetsels has authorized to confer upon you this academic distinction in accordance with Dutch university custom, and I invite your supervisor to now take the floor.
Please all rise.
I think this is on. Yeah. Okay. Do you promise to work in accordance with the principles of scientific integrity at all times, to be careful and honest, transparent, independent, and responsible?
Yes, I promise.
By the authority vested in us by law and in conformity with the decision of the committee here present, I hereby confer upon you, Valerio Stallone, the degree of doctor and grant you all rights attached by custom and law. As evidence of this, I now present you with the degree certificate signed by the rector, the secretary, and the other members of the committee, and affixed with the official seal of the university.
So Professor Wetsels will continue with the laudatio.
Well, thank you. Dear Valerio, dear Dr. Stallone, congratulations on this remarkable achievement. You've made it. You've overcome all the challenges of time and space, and infer from the marketing track part in your title that you're also a Star Trek fan. So that's why I put in time and space. And space-time discontinuity. But obviously there were more kind of impediments. We had numerous online meetings in Zoom, Teams, Skype, or otherwise. And obviously we had all the restrictions of COVID-19 after our initial kind of encounter. So today will not only mark the combination of years of relentless hard work, but also the beginning of what I'm confident will be a distinguished and promising career in marketing. This is an intriguing and interesting premiere for the both of us, and also including Dominic. Actually, as I wrote this, this was actually true because we met yesterday evening, but that was the first time we ever met in person. So as I wrote this, I wasn't anticipating we would meet before the defense, and it says like, as this is actually the first time we meet in person, but actually that was yesterday. But all of the supervision, connections, revisions of the papers took place virtually. So it's a premiere, almost doing your dissertation without seeing your supervisors in person. This, again, pre-COVID, this was something which even we could not imagine doing, but it seems to be working. Not that I'm promoting this as the new normal, but obviously, this is something I will kind of always remember. So when you approached me, we had a meeting, also online, and we discussed blockchain. And what is blockchain? Well, I heard of it roughly, but you actually sold it very well. This is a new technology. It's going to be making its mark on the future. And since new technologies are one of my research priorities, I was kind of intrigued. And after our talk, and during our talk, I was particularly impressed by your personal motivation to do research, but also the competence and professionalism you brought into our talk. You were very confident, you knew what you're talking about, and I think also given your performance in the defense, your confidence has never let you down, also not today. So, obviously, what is blockchain? So, at that point in time, obviously, we did not have any objective verification what blockchain is. But at the moment, we have something which is called ChatGPT. So you can ask ChatGPT what is blockchain, and obviously, I did so. And maybe kind of briefly, you can reflect on what ChatGPT told me. So blockchain is a digital ledger technology that records transactions across many computers in such a way that the registered transactions cannot be altered retroactively. This technology is the backbone of various cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So that's that far that good. Then kind of there was some stuff which I kind of left out, but then it said blockchain's potential extends beyond cryptocurrencies. It's being explored in fields like supply chain management. That's where Frank comes in. Healthcare, finance. I don't think we have somebody from finance. And more due to its capacity to provide secure, transparent, and efficient transactions. So it doesn't even mention marketing. And I think that provides you with some huge potential because you're obviously the expert of blockchain in marketing. And as you've shown, there's huge applications in advertising, social media, relationship management, CRM, for using this technology. So one thing which is, I think, really important for a PhD is the passion for research and the passion for your topic. And that is clearly kind of what you have shown kind of in the process, but also obviously during this defense. So essentially, your journey is even more extraordinary if we look into the fact that you're an external PhD. So essentially, you've worked on your PhD entirely of your own decision and driven by your own personal resources and motivation. I think that is one of the key things in a PhD researcher is that you're driven by intrinsic motivation to find answers to research questions. And also, let's be fair, who would not jump at the opportunity to work with a real Stallone in research? So this dissertation is a testament to your hard work, rigor, creative and innovative thinking. So as we also concluded in our assessment, it has really kind of significantly contributed to understanding how blockchain works, how it can be applied in marketing. And it's more than just a collection of studies and data. It can indeed serve as a beacon for future research in this area. Not all of it is completely crystallized, but it's a very nice starting point for additional research. That's also why we still need to work on some of the papers, but I think that has kind of also matured over time, and we have now gathered new insights, which will also help us to revise the papers. So during your journey, and it has been quite a journey, given everything that happened in the environment, there's a lot of qualities I admire. And the first of these is your resilience. Research is never linear. We also discussed this today. Like even innovation is not linear, it can be non-linear, it has feedback loops, and that's also what happened. But regardless of any of the hurdles and impediments, you always kind of fought back, you always faced these challenges head on. So whether it was problems with the methodology, the data collection, you were always kind of focused, always was there an unwavering commitment to finish your project. You've used creative solutions to collect your data. When it didn't work out, you tried new approaches. You kept kind of always positive and constructive. And I think your ability to think outside the box and apply these kind of new insights to kind of a very kind of new era and area of research in blockchain kind of is showing that kind of motivation and perseverance kind of takes you a very long way. And well, a very long way is actually it took you here. So another aspect which I find really interesting is that you focus not only on the consumer part, which is marketing, the management part, which is essentially what companies can make out of it, but also the society part. So you look into what can blockchain do for society at large. And I think that is kind of essential as we see that in academia, the focus not only just on consumers and companies is kind of working out. We need to kind of redefine this paradigm. And I said, some of your work has already been published in top journals in our field. We actually going to meet again in a few weeks because we're going to be attending like the AMS Marketing Conference in Miami. That would be actually the second time we meet. But yeah, so this never ever happened, obviously, before. So as your co-supervisor, together with Dominic, we had the unique privilege of witnessing kind of your intellectual and personal growth at first hand. Like you kind of evolved from a very motivated and keen PhD candidate into kind of a researcher with kind of, which I kind of respect for the hard work, but also admire for kind of all the time you put into this and to make this happen. So it's been not without challenges, and obviously being an external PhD, there are a lot of challenges, but essentially your passion for the topic, which kind of we all have seen also during the defense, has brought you actually forward. And we hope that you will also be able to kind of use that as kind of motivation to take the papers we still need to publish further. So I have no doubt that this dissertation has kind of laid down a strong foundation for kind of additional joint research in future. So, Valerio, as you celebrate this milestone, remember this is not the end, but also a new beginning. And that sounds like a Star Wars movie, but yeah, it's not. May you continue to be driven by curiosity and embark on your next adventure. Dominic and myself are very proud of what you have accomplished, and obviously we eagerly await the next chapters of your story, which I'm sure will be as inspiring as the one we celebrate today. In closing, I would like again extend my heartfelt congratulations to you and express my gratitude also for the support that has been given by your family, friends, and all who supported you throughout this journey. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wessels. Dear Dr. Stallone, also on behalf of Maastricht University and the School of Business and Economics, I congratulate you with the degree that you have acquired. Before we close the session, I would like to give the floor to Professor Kleijnen for a short congratulation. Mirella? Then we close the session.
Thank you very much.
Please all rise.
Let's have a look. Mirella? Mirella, can you hear us? No. Okay.
Dr. Stallone, please come forward and bring your degree.
Technology, how do we study blockchain and we don't really... You forgot your blockchain.
Please come forward a bit. Supervisors, next to the young doctor.
No.
Please come to the front. Yeah. Everybody else can join, please.